Hello, everyone. Happy National Poetry Month. And speaking of Poetry Month, before we get started with our book today, poems inspired by, I said my own book title wrong. What If I Ruled the World? Poems inspired by music by your boy. Always linked in the description, always linked in the link tree. So I need to start working on my next book. I have like the idea, but I haven't started. So then I can show you this book and another book, hopefully, some point this year. Now, let's get into today's book. Out of Wonder, poem celebrating poets. Gosh, I am not saying any of these titles right. My own, this one. Out of Wonder, celebrating poets and poetry. I feel like I've been saying it wrong in my short videos, but it is what it is. It's by Kwame Alexander with Chris Quarterly and Marjorie Wentworth, and it's illustrated by Ikua Holmes. Okay. I know I spelled her name wrong. Um, I just realized I did not put the synopsis or the release date in my notes. So I'm just going to read the back of the book. Out of gratitude for the joys of poetry, Newbery Medal winning author and poet Kwame Alexander is joined by Chris Quarterly and Marjorie Wentworth to paying trip now speak today in paying lyrical homage to 20 famed poets selected for having made their hearts sing and their minds wonder. Rich and colorful mixed media images by Iyuka, I definitely said her name or his name wrong. Holmes, winner of the Caldecott Honor and the John Steptoe New Talent Award. Complete the celebration and invite the reader to listen, wonder, perhaps even pick up a pen, which I did. And I'm gonna share my poems later. Let me see when this was released, y'all, because I'm gonna be honest, I was on my period this week, was not really super motivated. Usually it would say in the beginning, like the year it came out. I actually read this in my ebook as an ebook in my Libby app. So let me see. I'm going to check my reading journal because it'll tell me. Maybe. Did I put it? No, I don't put it in my reading journal. Let me check real quick, y'all. Sorry about that. Gonna be ready momentarily. Okay, when did it come out? Okay, January 26, 2021. So it's pretty new. 4 years old. I read the synopsis. I'm gonna read my pros and my cons. I don't really have much. Um, my one pro is I love most of the poems and the artwork, and I'm gonna show you some. I'm gonna read some of the poems and show you some of the artwork. So there's that. I have no cons actually, but I'm just gonna give my overall opinion, which is short. Really love this book really love that this book is dedicated to other poets and made me definitely want to read more poetry. I love that they had an index with the poets' biographies that inspired each poet who helped write the book. So they have so the poets who wrote the book, um, Kwame, Chris, and Marjorie, uh, they have an index with all the authors, the other poets that inspired them, like Nikki Giovanni, E. Cummings, others. This is definitely for poetry and art lovers. 10 out of 10, highly recommend. That's my review in a nutshell. It's pretty quick, and we're getting to the point. So, I'm gonna read. So they have three different sections. It's a really short book. It's only 40 pages. They have a preface where Kwame talks about how big poetry was in his household growing up with his mom. She was a writer, professor, and book publisher. What did his dad do? I feel like his dad was also into poetry and writing. I swear he mentions his dad in here, and now I cannot find it. Interesting. He maybe his dad was a poetry lover, but not into poetry. But I swear he mentioned that his dad would um, talk about poetry with them as well. Okay, they just say that they loved words. But they also mentioned that they didn't really watch TV growing up, and that they read a lot and they had a lot of books in their household. And him talking about poetry in school, but they didn't have it as much until he got to college, where he rediscovered his love for poetry. Um, so then he talks about they did 20 of their favorite poets. So here's the requirements for the poets who they decide to celebrate and are and out of wonder. First, they had to be interesting people, and second, they had to be passionately in love with their poetry. And he says mission accomplished. So they got that goal down. And he called the book Out of Wonder because it comes from a quote by the renowned poet and child's book author Lucille Clifton. She wrote, "Poems come out of wonder, not out of knowing." I feel like that's a great quote. There's another quote at the top of the preface, and it's called, and here's what it says: "Poetry is serious, playful, all encompassing, specific, divine, incomprehensible, profane." By Wyton Mar. I am not saying anything right today. Marsalis? Marsalis? There we go. Winton Marsalis. Not saying anything right today. But I'm gonna read each section. So they have, you saw the cover. This is the uh, picture for the introduction to each part. So part one is called Got Style. So poets love to make up their own rules about writing. That's what makes it so much fun. Sometimes E. E. Cummings and Nikki Giovanni use ellipses, and then it has like parentheses, three ellipses, to separate ideas and lowercase lettering at the beginning of sentences. Langston Hughes, who loved jazz, was a master of repetition, rhythm, rhyming couplets, and quatrains. The poems in this section pay tribute to poets being celebrated by adapting their styles and rhythms. And speaking of Langston Hughes, which I reviewed a book of his last year. We're going That's what my first poem is inspired by today. Some of the poems that I wrote for week, poetry month this week, inspired by this book, are in this section. So I was like, do I want to double dip? In the second section, I did double dip, but I didn't do it for this section. But the poem is called Jazz Jive Jam. Love the alliteration. Celebrating Langston Hughes. And I'm going to show the picture real quick. Somebody with a trumpet. I love it. It's so beautiful. I hope I'm capturing this well because these are really beautiful pictures. But basically, this kind of describes what's happening in the poem. And I'm going to read the poem now. It's by Kwame Alexander himself. On Saturday, my mama sang a song that sounded blue. Then Daddy made his trumpet cry. I guess the rent is due. Around midnight came a band of neighbors, swinging soul to soul. The landlord even cut a rug and let the good times roll. They all ate Mama's waffles and cordon bleu. Then Daddy passed his hat around because rent is due. Come Sunday, me and Mama kneeled while Deacon Willie prayed. When we got home, my daddy cheered, hooray, the rent's been paid. So you got the money, you got the trombone, you got the mama singing, you got the hat. Oh, I like that. I read this last night and didn't realize it rhymed. My poem is not gonna rhyme because I was not paying attention. I guess that's a lesson to me to read them out loud before I start writing. But my poem is called "My Bills Are Paid." uh, like Tammy from, not Tammy, is it Amy from A Thousand Pound Sister? She says, "My bills are paid," and I just thought that'd be a funny title. So here it goes. On Saturday, my mama sang a song that sounded blue. The daddy made his saxophone wail. I guess the rent is due. So I did kind of rhyme, but I don't think it's not gonna stick. Around midnight, Around midnight came a band of neighbors, swinging arm to arm. The landlord even cut a rug and let the good times roll. They all ate Mama's biscuits and fried sausage. Then Daddy passed his hat around, because renters do. Come Sunday, me and Mama kneeled while Pastor Al prayed. When we got home, Daddy cheered, "Hooray, the rent's been paid." So the last one I did rhyme, but not follow the format. But it is what it is. That's my interpretation. And if you have not seen my short videos, this is one of the poems I was inspired by. That was inspired by Nikki Giovanni, written by Chris Quarterly. So I'll read another poem from the section. It's called Snapshots, celebrating Nikki Giovanni. People forget poetry is not just words on a page. It is a snowflake on your tongue, a tattoo on the side of your arm, a dashiki and a kaftan, tripping down the streets of Lincoln Heights, shouting from the hills of Knoxville, Tennessee. Poetry is barbecue, cotton candy, purple skin beats from Daddy's garden, blues, the Birdland Jazz Club, Sunday morning gospel, chasing justice, freedom. Poetry is remembering the things that matter, the ones you love when night comes softly like ripples on a pond. So that definitely does sound like something Nikki Giovanni would write. And there are a bunch of ellipses. I don't know if you can see them. I don't know if it's going to be clear. If you can see between each line, there's ellipses. That's really interesting. That's one of the poems I wrote to this week in my short TikTok videos slash what they call it on Instagram, reels slash shorts on YouTube. So we're going to go to part 2 now. Sometimes our poems sound like they were written by our favorite poets, and that is okay. It's easy to incorporate the feelings and themes of the poets we are reading into our work. Walter Dean Myers loved basketball. Judith Wright was a well-known environmentalist. And Billy Collins makes you laugh out loud with his conversational and witty observations on the everyday happenings of life. Just these ideas, using these ideas, we can create our own masterpieces. So my poem was inspired by, hold on, wrote down the page number. The Blue Alphabet, celebrating Terrence Hayes by Marjorie Whitworth. And I also wrote to this week for my short video. I just love this poem, so I wanted to write to it again. So this is the poem I wrote to over here with this picture. Isn't that pretty? And then I wrote to this picture today, a couple days ago. It's by Emily Dickens, and he has the rose, and it's called A Field of Roses. This one's by Chris Quarterly. So I'll read that one after I read this one. So the Blue Alphabet. Make a paint box out of letters, add water, and dip your brush. Swirl it on the paper with style while you are humming a tune, smiling or standing still. Waiting for the school bus, you can dazzle your friends with the words you have made and strung together like beads around your neck. And I just love that imagery. So I'm going to read my poem first. So my poem is called Spoken Beads. I love that theme so much. Make a paint box out of letters, add water and dip your brush. Flick it on the paper with style while singing a song, smiling, or dancing. Waiting for the city bus, you can dazzle strangers with your words you have recited and strung together like beads around your neck. Oh yeah, love that. And let me read A Field of Roses, celebrating Emily Dickinson by Chris Quarterly. I keep an old verse in my room that says believing in roses makes them bloom. I know enough of life's toils to say it also takes rich, fertile soil, lots of good old-fashioned care, and rain to make roses blossom in air. Here a beautiful red field grows. I say the loveliest anyone knows. That's really good. These are really nice. And these are, not only are they good poems, but they're also good illustrations. or I should say that reverse. It's not just good illustrations; they're actually good poems. All right, let's get to part 3. Oh, I forgot to read their biographies. Well, that's going to be last. Okay, part 3 says thank you. A poet's words can affect us in a highly personal way. A poem can sometimes be so powerful that it might even feel as though the poet is speaking directly to us, as if we are in the middle of a private conversation. When we are moved in such a profound way, we speak back. Poems in this section respond by simply sharing with the world in words how awesome we feel about the poet and the poem. So this poem is inspired by a poem in the book. Get to it, and I'm gonna read it first, and then I'm gonna read my poem. So it's called "The Poet Inside Me," celebrating Sandra Cisneros. Cisneros, once again by Chris Quarterly. You are the little girl from Mango Street, the one with the lazy locks, and an old red sweater on her desk. You are the only daughter, the traveler with dos linguas. I know a little Spanish, y'all. The one who holds Papa when he weeps. You are the fairy tales in mi vida, the words in my alphabet soup, the book in my backpack for the trip to school. You are la luna that glows when I sleep, poet inside me, waiting to rise like the morning sun. So, um, this poem is like my poem is like inspired to all of 3 of them, and it's called Admiration. You are the poets of this book, the ones with powerful words, and the inspiration you passed along to me. You are very talented wordsmiths that sew together impactful phrases, the ones who show appreciation to the ones that came before them. You are all the American dream of writers, the words in my alphabet soup. I love that line. The book I will show off proudly. You are the inspired and inspirational, the poet inside me, waiting to rise like the morning sun. Oh, yeah. Those are my poems for this book. Oh, and look at this picture across from it. Isn't that so beautiful? I hope this is capturing it. My dang ring light. Look at how beautiful. I highly recommend getting this book. I don't think it was expensive. It might have been, give me a line. I think it was less than $10. But I want to read another poem from this section. Is this the first poem in this section? It is. It's inspired. Oh, it's called Hue and Cry, celebrating Gwendolyn Brooks. Bronze lady, way past cool, voice like butter, melting blues. She sung low, she swung high, rouse with rhyme, hue and cry. Woman black, smile like moon, Bronzeville lady, gone too soon. This one's by Kwame Alexander. And look at this picture. This is so beautiful. And ring light. But it is really beautiful. And there's a piano. And, okay, I'm going to show y'all. In the back of the book, give it up for the back of the dress. About the poets being celebrated, and then it's like an index with all of their names. And, it has the year they were born, year they were died, if they're still, if they passed away. And then they give a little autobiography about them. Some of them are longer than others. Yeah. And unfortunately, Nikki Giovanni has passed away since this book, but it doesn't show that because it came out in 2021. So she didn't pass away till last year. Um, and usually I do this at the beginning of the video, but so also they have like a little index of like what kind of poets they are, like ancient and foreign language poets. They have Basho from Japan, Rumi, which I reviewed 2 years ago, from Persia, 19th century poets, Emily Dickinson, and they also have, where they're from, United States, 20th century poets, Gwendolyn Brooks, uh, everybody's from Okay, these next ones are three are from the United States. E. E. Cummings, Robert Frost, Chief Dan George, which is he's Canadian. Langston Hughes, United States. Pablo Neruda, Chile. Oh, I'm gonna say this name wrong. Okato Okat P. Bitek, Uganda. Which that was a really nice poem and a really nice picture in the book. William Carlos Williams, United States. Judith Wright, Australia. And then they have contemporary poets. So they have them by, the centuries. Maya Angelou, United States. Everybody's United States. Sandra Cisneros, Billy Collins, Nikki Giovanni, Terrence Hayes, Walter Dean Myers, Naomi Shihab Nye, and Mary Oliver. I am so sorry if I mispronounce any of those names. I know I butchered some of them. But to end the video, let's talk about the people who wrote the book. So Kwame Alexander is a poet, educator, and New York Times bestselling author of 35 books, including Becoming Muhammad Ali, co-authored with James Patterson. Oh, check that one out. Rebound, which is shortlisted for the Carnegie Medal. The Undefeated, illustrated by Kadir Nelson, which won the Caldecott Medal. I am saying this name wrong every single time. And received the Newbery Honor. And the Newbery Award-winning middle grade novel, The Crossover, a regular contributor to NPR's Morning Edition. He's a recipient of numerous awards and honors, including Lee Bennett Hopkins Poetry Award, a Coretta Scott King author, 3 NCAAP Image Award nominations, and an inaugural Conroy Legacy Award. In 2018, he opened the Barbara E. Alexander Memorial Library and Health Clinic in Ghana as part of the Leap for Ghana, an international literacy program he co-founded. This also won the Coretta Scott King Award. Hold on. It's right there. All right, so Chris Coderly is a poet and elementary school teacher in Burlington, Ontario. Oh, got a Canadian. His articles and poems have appeared in Language Magazine, California English, Inscribed, Mobius, the Poetry Magazine, Maple Tree Literary Supplement, Teach, and Tower Poetry. Here's a very short biography. Marjorie Wentworth is a former poet laureate of South Carolina. Oh, that's great. Her books of poetry include Noticing Eden, Despite Gravity, The Endless Repetition of an Ordinary Miracle. She has authored, co-written, co-edited many other titles. She teaches at the Art Institute of Charleston, and her work is included in the Southern California Poetry Archive at Furman University. Very impressive. Okay, the illustrator, whose name I am going to totally butcher, Ikua Holmes, I know that's probably wrong, is a fine artist who has developed she's a woman, her practice to sustaining contemporary black art and traditions in Boston. Sustaining contemporary black art traditions in Boston. Is that 5 times fast? She has received numerous awards, both for her artworks and in recognition of her community outreach and cultural. I'm just not reading good today. Cultural. Anyway, efforts. I'm gonna skip that word. Now it's gonna bother me. Curatorial efforts. There we go. She's won a Coretta Scott King Illustrator Award for her illustrations in the Stuff of Stars by Marian Dan Bauer. She received a Caldecott honor in a John Steptoe New Talent Illustrator Award for illustrations in The Voice of Freedom, Fannie Lou Hamer, The Spirit of Civil Rights Movement by Carol Boston Weatherford. And she lives in Boston. So that's the authors, and this is the book. Will you pick it up? Will you not pick it up? I think you should. It's really quick read. It's a really quick read. And Trying to think, would this be kid friendly? Because in the Libby app, it says it's a kid's book, but I feel like there might be some kind of subject matter that I feel like I don't think kids would read, but maybe read it first. I think maybe because it has illustrations, they made it like in the kids section. And I would say maybe read it first for yourself before you just give it to the kid. Uh, I don't think it's anything too explicit, but I'm trying to think. There was some that I was like, "Why I give this to a kid?" I don't think was there anything off the top of my head that I could say would be inappropriate. So maybe read it for yourself just to double check. Because I felt like there were some subject matters that might be a little sensitive, but I can't remember off the top of my head. So it might be fine, but read it first and then you can decide. But yeah, that's Out of Wonder by Kwame Alexander with Chris Quarterly and Marjorie Wentworth and Ikua Holmes as the illustrator. So that's the book, and I will see you all next week. And make sure you're reading some kind of poetry this month to support poets, especially poets of color. You know, with this administration, any person of color is being attacked and our history, so we got to support each other and women. So, I did read Nikki Giovanni last week, so and then Kwame Alexander, Black. Uh, so yeah, and the illustrator as well. So yeah, always support everyone and don't let this administration tear us apart. All right, I will see you all next week.